Alright folks, we're back with another Gen 6 wide-part battle, and as usual, I'm using my Gen 4 team. My opponent today is Stuart, aka Samuroleon, or to be blunt, basically one of the best Rayman Legends players I've ever known. And I thank the Rayman Legends demo for that. Links in the description if you guys are interested. I start off with my Electivire as usual, and he starts off with a Jolteon. And that Jolteon is a devastating threat. It's fast. He makes a switch, and he's wondering that I'm going to use Earthquake, and I think he pretty much made a good move with that part. He switches into his Chestnut, and I do go for the Earthquake, but the damage wasn't as effective. Yeah, because of the fact that my Chestnut is, like, I think, a grass and fighting type. I go for the switch, hoping that I could be able to do something different, and I go into my Staraptor, and the Staraptor's Intimidate kicks in, lowering his attack by 1 level. He goes for a Needle Arm, and the Needle Arm didn't do much. Not that effective, but instead I go for the Brave Bird. And the Brave Bird did a load of damage. I'm not kidding. It did a lot of damage. And that takes him down despite the fact that, well, I get recoil afterwards. It would have been nice if he had like Spike Shield and that would have helped. Anyway, he now sends out his Jolteon again. And I'm thinking this guy's going to use Thunder or Thunderbolt. My guess exactly, because I make a switch and I make a pretty good prediction and I switch into my Electivire. And he actually does go for Thunder, but thanks to my Electivire's Motor Drive, I get a much-deserved speed boost. And that speed boost is going to help. And he switches yet again because he knows I'm going to pull off another Earthquake to take him down. He actually sends out his Gardevoir. And I go for an Earthquake, hoping that I can at least do some damage, but to my surprise, I actually do damage. And I go for another Earthquake since thanks to the speed boost, I'm now faster. And it takes down Gardevoir without even bringing a sweat. Done. Yeah. And he sends out his Aegislash. And he has an Aegislash. And he activates King's Shield. And yeah, I go for another Earthquake since I thought, why not just do more damage to this guy? But he protects himself and I don't get like any additional hit. I go for the Thunder Punch. And the Thunder Punch does some damage. I'm hoping. But sadly, he gets hit by the Rocky Helmet. However, he gets a Swords Dance up, which raises attack by 2 levels. And now he goes for a stance change and switches to attack mode. And I'm thinking, Shadow Sneak, right? As I thought. Every Aegislash I ever know has Shadow Sneak. Though I think I may want to change things up with my Aegislash. Well, Electivire down, I need to do something. So I switch into Staraptor and the Intimidate kicks in, which lowers the attack down to +1. Which is a relief, but he goes for a Shadow Sneak, but it doesn't affect it. I go for a Brave Bird on the other hand, and since it's in attack mode in its blade form, I take down Aegislash, and I get a huge stab boost, and it takes him down easily. However, it gets hurt by the Rocky Helmet, but it also gets hurt because of the recoil, and the recoil really isn't going to help me much. It really isn't. Anyway, he sends out his Jolteon, and without my Electivire, I'm not going to have anything to protect myself, so I may as well just use it as something to die. And I do that, and it takes the Thunderbolt, and it goes down. Staraptor did its job, and I'm pretty pleased with that. I send in my Roserade next, and I'm thinking I gotta put this thing to sleep before it gives me some problems. It goes for a Thunder, and it misses, but I go for a Sleep Powder, and I get the hit, and it's put to sleep. And I'm like, yes! Now I can finally pull out something really big and take him down before he does anything else. However, sadly, he pulls a switch. And I wonder what he switches to next. He sends out Jetpack, which is actually a Pinsir. And he gets the Mold Breaker, which breaks the mold. I go for a Sludge Bomb, hoping that I could do some damage, and I do that, and it survives. But I make a switch, but what happens next is actually going to make things a little more tough. He sends out Blaziken. I send out Blaziken, but his Pinsir Mega evolves into a Mega Pinsir. And I got to admit, Mega Pinsir looks really badass. It really does look badass. And he uses Vice Grip, and it takes down my Blaziken in 1 hit. Mostly because of the fact of Mega Pinsir's special ability. It has to be a Mega Pinsir special ability. So I send in my Empoleon, hoping that I can be able to do some damage to it. He actually goes for a Storm Throw, and a Storm Throw will always guarantee a crit no matter what. However, I survive with only 2 HP left. I go for the Ice Beam, and I take down Mega Pinsir. I'm like, thank goodness, phew, I get the crit, and I don't really think it mattered. I don't really think it would matter because I would still knock it out regardless, and I apologize if I was a bit brutal with that. I don't feel too bad. Anyway, he sends out Greninja, and this Greninja has to be a Protean because it basically changed into a grass type. And with the Protean Grass Knot, it did a lot of damage. It took down my Empoleon, and yeah, Empoleon did its job. I send out my Rose Raid, and I'm thinking this guy's going to use Ice Beam, right? I was going to use Sleep Powder, and I was right. He actually does have an Ice Beam. And he takes down my Rose Raid in one hit. And I'm like, oh, nuts. I'm going to be screwed. I'm going to be screwed real bad from this guy. And I'm down to my last Pokemon, which is Alakazam. And this is where the tide of the battle completely changes. I activate my Mega Evolution, turning my Alakazam into a Mega Alakazam. Now, this is the really fun thing about this, because with Mega Alakazam's trace, I actually traced Protean, and Protean basically just changes my types around completely. I'm like, nice. Now I can finally fight back against him. I pull a Psychic attack, and that takes him down in one fell swoop. If it had Dark Pulse, it would have been worse. But this is where I take down my... He has his last Pokemon. Last Pokemon is a Jolteon, and that's faster than my Alakazam. I go for the Dazzling Gleam, changing into a Fairy type, and I'm hoping I could be able to take it down in one hit. But sadly, I don't. And this is where the turning point happens. He goes for a Thunder, and this happens. Yeah. I was freaking angry when I got the Parallax and the Paralyze at the same time. I would have won had it not been for the Parallax, but he goes for a Thunderbolt and finishes off my Jolteon. Samuroleon actually told me that if I didn't get the Parallax, I would have won. This was a really close battle, and I really enjoyed it a lot. Thank you very much, Samuroleon, for this battle. I really loved it. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys appreciate it too, because this one was a really intense battle. I mean that. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It does mean a lot to me, and I'll see you guys later with another battle. Let's just hope this time I don't suffer any more losses. Not that it matters, because I do it for fun. Alright, take care, guys.